Good morning, guys. I hope you had a great weekend. Today, what we're going to do is we are going to do a lead poisoning activity, and then you are going to watch a frontline video. So the first things first, you need to make sure that you have a blank piece of paper out and something to write with. The title of your notes is going to be lead poisoning. What you're going to do is you will take notes on the PowerPoint, you and your partner will create graphs, and then you will answer questions. Let's begin. So there was an experiment that looked at lead poisoning exposure. People are usually exposed to lead through old buildings that were painted with lead paint. There are a couple of ways in which lead can enter your body. It can enter as dust as you breathe it in, and or you can ingest it as paint chips. Either way, lead can permanently damage your brain and your nervous system. Some of the symptoms of lead poisoning are aggressive behavior, hyperactivity, headaches, hearing loss, and at high enough levels, lead poisoning can cause seizures, comas, and even death. The CDC states that a lead level of only 10 micrograms per deciliter in the blood can be harmful. Now let's break that down. A microgram is 1/1,000,000th of a gram, and a deciliter is 1/10th of a liter. And again, they state that 10 micrograms per deciliter can be harmful. Okay. The actual experiment looked at lead poisoning and the mental ability of children in a town that had a lead smelter. The experiment was conducted, which looked at the concentrations of blood and lead and the students' mental abilities. The children all grew up near a lead smelter, which is a factory where raw lead ore is processed, and therefore they were exposed to lead. Scientists measured the concentration of lead in the children's blood over time, and in conjunction with that, psychologists also performed tests on the children to determine their IQ. In total, there were 494 children in the experiment. Those 494 children were divided into 4 groups. Group 1 had the lowest concentration of lead in their blood, and Group 4 had the highest. The groups of children were measured 5 times as they grew up. They were measured at 6 months, 15 months, 3 years, 5 years, and 7 years. So remember, there were 4 groups of children, Group 1 having the lowest concentration of lead, and Group 4 having the highest. Each group was measured 5 times as they grew up, between 6 months and 7 years. Your job. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do on this blank sheet of paper that you've been writing notes is I want you to create a hypothesis. You're designing a hypothesis that examines the relationship between the lead concentration in the children's blood, their IQ, and the age of the children. So let's break this down for a second. Here is an example with some blanks you could fill in. As children go older, if the blood levels blank, then the IQ of the children will blank. This is an example hypothesis that would look at the blood lead concentration, the IQ, and the age of the children. You are welcome to use this example to fill in the blanks, or if you would like to create your own, by all means. Make sure your hypothesis is in the if-then format. Okay, once you've created your hypothesis, you and your partner are going to need to do some graphing. Using the lead poisoning activity sheet, which is already on your table in the buckets, along with graph paper, rulers, and colored pencils, you are going to create one graph for each group of children. That's a total of 4 graphs. You and your partner will split up the graphs, so be prepared to create 2 graphs. Again, you're creating 4 graphs, one for each grouping of children. Okay, Each graph needs both the blood lead concentrations and IQ scores for each measurement. Each graph should be a stacked bar graph. Now, let's actually take a look at what I'm talking about and what I'm looking for. Okay, so I have graphed group 1. As you can see, this is a stacked bar graph. This is group 1, so this is the lowest concentration of blood lead children. You can see on the x-axis that I have the 5 intervals in which the kids were measured, 6 and 15 months, 3 years, 5 years, and 7 years. The y-axis has increments of 20. And then I have color-coded. In blue, you can see what the blood level concentrations are at each measurement. And then you can see the corresponding IQ for that measurement. What you and your partner are going to do, you will create a graph for group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4. And it should look just like this. When you guys are done, what I want you to do is answer both analysis questions, answer both conclusion questions, and the extension question. These questions can all be found on the lead poisoning activity sheet, which already has the data you will be graphing. All right, folks, have a great day.